Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the EJMast Plus podcast. I'm your host, Elson Mast, and today I have one of my good friends with me. Also, you might notice we just completely revamped this studio. Me and my sister spent about a week every evening working on this. We got some strip lights and stuff. I'm planning to do a video, kind of the process, and so be looking for that. And you can introduce yourself now.
So I'm Carl Schlabach, and I'm from here in the area. Work at a store called The Home Place, and I've gotten to know Elson just from church, honestly, and growing up together, and just always have gotten to know him, and I'm very honored to be here on this podcast.
I like how you said Schlabach.
Did you like that?
Because I never say Schlabach. I always say Schlabach.
Well, so the thing is, you get people asking, how do you say your name? And it's like, it's easier to say Schlabach, but Schlabach is the correct pronunciation. But then often people ask, hey, how do you spell that? Or can you say that again? I don't understand. But it's...
I see.
I'm proud of my name.
It always trips me out when he goes into his formal mode because it's Carl Schlabach to me, and he goes, I'm Carl Schlabach.
Well, where that comes out is when you're going through the drive-thru at any kind of restaurant, and let's say you place a mobile order, it's much easier to say Schlabach, because if you say Schlabach, it's just this whole... I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff.
They're like, what?
Yeah. Who is this? Are you an alien? Anyways.
Yeah. So, kind of for today's episode, what we'll be looking at is probably, we did introductions. A good piece of it is going to be Faith Builders.
Yep.
He served there, how long did you serve there?
About a year.
About a year that he served there. And so, kind of like the one I did with Josh Kime, he talked about Faith Mission. You can check that one out if you haven't yet. We're going to talk about that for a while, and then at the end we'll do a little bit more of like dialogue style.
Yep.
So, I guess we'll get started here. I kind of asked you how long you've been there, but could you kind of explain what Faith Builders is, where is it at?
For sure. So, there's a lot to that question. So, Faith Builders is a very big organization. It's based in northwestern Pennsylvania, and more specifically, Guys Mills, PA. A very, very small town, and originally it started as a college for Mennonites, and that happened, don't count me on this, but I think like in the 80s or so, so back in the 1900s, there was a group of Mennonites that formulated this, and since then it's really gotten to be something much bigger. FB today is known as a 2-year school for Mennonites, for students that want to pursue 3 different tracks of studies with the offer. One is Christian ministries, one is what they call teacher apprenticing. And teacher apprenticing is for those who feel like they need more tools to teach, basically grade school. And so a lot of teachers show up. Christian ministries is just a way of really helping and get you out further with just ministries in general. Thirdly, there's general studies. So if you just feel like you want to up your knowledge, and do it in a good, godly environment, that's the place to do it.
So
that's
what grades do they have there?
Right, okay, so that goes into even more. So there's FBCS and there's FBTI. So FBTI stands for Faith Builders Training Institute, which is for the college level courses. And then there's FBCS, which is the Christian school, Faith Builders Christian School. There they have about, I don't know, half a dozen or maybe even more community churches where they send their children there, and they teach them K through 12. So just like any other school, right? And then FBTI, like I said, is for the older ones, the ones that come out of high school that want to pursue a secondary education. That's where they go. And so it's a 2-year track. Most colleges are 4 years, as you know them, and 2 years is maybe rather odd. And it's not necessarily a school that's recognized by big colleges and stuff. So I don't know if you've ever heard of, transferring and stuff. Like, if you want to transfer to a different college, sometimes they don't recognize Faith Builders as a legit school. Mm-hmm. So it's got its own niche. But yeah, as far as the grade school goes, they've got all the way from kindergarten all the way up to grade 12.
What courses would be available at college? Basically anything you want to learn, or is there kind of more specific courses they teach there?
Yeah. So I'll get into that. Granted, I should probably give the clause that I was a volunteer there.
Yeah.
So I was a volunteer at FB for a year in the bookstore. And, well, we'll get into the bookstore later, but the reason I say this is because I wasn't a student. I don't know exactly what all the students went through and what courses they took. So, like I gave you the 3 general directions, which is Christian ministries, teacher apprenticing, and general studies. Within that, every day they have classes that range from human psychology to English composition to history classes of all sorts, cross-cultural studies, and then also some other independent studies where they'll have like small groups come together at people's houses and they'll study some author's books. For example, C.S. Lewis. Like they'll come together and have a what they call a seminar on that. It just kind of there's all kinds of stuff. There's math class. Like there's just a lot. And like I
Gotcha.
said, I don't know exactly every class just because I wasn't a student. But yeah.
Do you have like a general idea of what the size of the campus or whatever is there? Like,
Yeah, for sure. So you're looking at about 30 to 40 students that come every year. And so that means at the same time, there's 30 or 40 second year students that will end up graduating at the end of their second year. So a total of, no, I'm not right. Let me back up. I think it's more like 20 and 20. So each year, what they would call a class is going to be around 20 students. It's racking my brain now, but I'm pretty sure it's 20 and 20. So throughout the year, you have a total of 40 students.
40 students.
Every year, about 20 of them graduate, and then every year, about 20 of them come in.
So you're saying about 20 would be first year, 20 would be second year.
Yeah.
Second year would graduate, first year would go to second, and the next year is...
That's exactly
okay.
right. Yeah. And I think I got the 40 and 40 mixed up because,
it's
when they
total.
run that too, but they also run short terms, and those are actually like 80 people, 80 students. Those are just 5 week terms.
They also have a Bible school there, right?
So basically, you can call it that. They have winter term, which is what I would reference as a maybe more of an advanced Bible school, and that's every winter, starts in the beginning of January and goes into February. There, it's like all kinds of topics, so it's maybe a little bit broader than what a Bible school would have. Plus, you have a bigger variety of people and ages. You have married couples there, you have families, and then you have your single students as well.
Versus a lot of Bible schools do just a lot
18-year-olds,
of 18 to
18, at least in our culture,
or whatever, yeah.
Like you hear that, or the smaller Bible schools have 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds, but it's not that way. Typically, you end up falling into a more, founded group where it's just, I hate to say it, but mature. It's just you have a solid group of people at a winter term. Yeah.
And then they also have a summer term, right? What they
do.
call summer term. That would be more like teacher education,
exactly.
Right? Because
So,
I have a sister that teaches actually, and she's been to summer term. And they also have Teachers Week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would be maybe a week version of the summer term.
Yeah,
you could
more or less.
describe
So
more.
Teachers Week is extremely concentrated. You're talking 400 people.
Yeah.
They're all teachers. It's wild. I tell you what, I was there the very first week that I went as a volunteer. They had Teachers Week.
Oh, great.
And it was quite the way to break in. Like, you get over people so quickly. But I survived, to say the least. So yeah, Teachers Week is only like a 5-day event. But before that, 5 weeks, the 5 weeks previous to that or prior to that is summer term. Summer term is for teachers only, either new teachers or teachers that have taught already a few years. And all those classes are a lot more designed to further a teacher in helping out, when they do teach. So, yeah, your sister Alvesta was there. Yep.
Is there any other like terms where people come in? So there's winter term, summer term. Is that kind of the two where a lot of outside people come in?
For sure. Yeah, those are the two main short terms. They have some other events, like weekend events.
But
School administrators.
Just be kind of just weekend.
Just weekends, yeah. So as
Gotcha.
far as a 5-week term, I think those are the two main ones, unless I'm blanking out on something else.
And then like Teachers Week would be a whole week, right?
Yeah.
Is there any other whole week classes?
Not that I know of. No.
Okay.
No. If I can, I want to touch back a little bit to what I was saying about FB. It's a big organization. I only touched on FBTI, FBCS. Now, there's not more acronyms. There's not FBCA, whatever.
Yeah.
But they have other programs that I thought might be worth mentioning. Like I mentioned, they have a school administrators retreat where it's like a weekend thing. They also have teachers conference. Don't ask me to compare the difference between Teachers Week and Teachers Conference because they're somewhat similar. But Teachers Conference happens in October every year where they host teachers for a weekend with some classes again. Just kind of,
That would be
giving
more
them
of a weekend instead of a whole week.
It's only a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's
Gotcha.
kind of maybe in an effort to bring teachers together to a bigger community, just to give each other encouragement. So there's Teachers Conference, there's school administrators. They also offer a Servant Institute thing, which is for lead pastors and for any kind of leaders in big organizations, just as a way of mentoring them. There's more. There really is, but I don't know it all.
They also, just this year, is that annual or by like every other year where they have the REACH program?
REACH is every other year, but since there was COVID, or then it was because they couldn't find a venue, is why there wasn't any in 2020. Okay, 2024 was supposed to happen.
Okay.
And
so it had been 2, and then 4 it was supposed to, it didn't, so it happened in 5.
So 5, yeah. And yeah, that's biannual thing, and that's huge. That's another huge event that they put on. We're talking 3,000+ people.
So how many volunteers are there?
Great question.
You mentioned you went as a volunteer.
Yeah, so I was a volunteer in the bookstore, and I was the only volunteer in the bookstore, and then there was another guy volunteer maintenance across the whole campus, so he took care of everything that fell apart, you can imagine. And then there's 3 cooks that work in the kitchen full-time, making meals morning, noon, and evening. And then there's 2 housekeeping. Housekeeping is just a fancy word for cleaning and just taking care of the place and not designing, but decor, and just making it smell and look beautiful.
So 3 cooks, 2 of those,
so
about 7.
7, yeah.
7 volunteers.
Yep. They actually upped it this year, and there's an additional guy there helping with IT. And you know me, I would love to have that position. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Gotcha.
So they have 8 now with 3 guys.
So they didn't have. I thought you had said there was a resident.
There's
IT
a paid IT staff guy still there.
Okay.
But now he feels like he needs help, so he got a volunteer to help him.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's. Do you have any idea, like acreage wise? Is it? Is it like a smaller lot, or do they have a sizable land there where you can go walk around? I've never been there. Kind of paint a picture if you can.
So the campus is kind of spread out. I don't know exactly how big it is. Can you show a photo on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you
it'll
have
pop
photos,
up. I'll show you a photo.
Yeah. It'll be there right now.
It's pretty nice. I don't really know how many acres. It's not overly big. It's not your traditional college size. It could be like 10+ acres, something like that. Not under roof, 10+ total.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's in a very, very small town, and like you can walk basically what they call the block, which is the 4 roads that go around it, which goes right through Main Street, and that's maybe a little bit over a mile. So it's not big.
So it'd be a little bit kind of like in a town, and there's roads go all the way around.
That's
it.
right.
It's in this block.
And it
occupies the whole block by itself, basically, or not?
No, so that's only connected to one of the roads. So the 3 other roads that make the block, there's residents and other just community folk that live there.
So it doesn't take out the whole thing.
No, it doesn't take up the whole thing.
So it's a lot smaller than like Faith Mission one.
Yeah, probably.
They have a lot of acreage there.
I'm not yeah, exactly. And they use
how's
that
the landscape there? Like, because it's really like hilly and stuff there.
It is hilly. It's similar to here. So you're dealing with just rolling countryside, and also similar to us is that we're just on the edge of the Appalachian region here. That's how they're up there. So they're not in the mountains any closer than we are, but not any further away. It's not.
So it'd be really similar to here.
I would say so.
Gotcha.
If anything, less flat than what we have it here. Because here we have a couple spots, especially as you head
like if
west.
You go up towards Winchester
or Hillsborough, or
up
exactly.
that kind of neck of the woods, or Lake Winoka area. It's really flat.
Yeah,
and you always get your lawnmower stuck in the spring.
Yep, true.
So building dimensions, you probably don't know that either. I'm just really
I think the
pulling
photo's
this out
gonna help you guys out. Just look at the photo. It's long and skinny, at multiple levels. And
how many floor levels?
We're talking. What depends. So the guys, the guys' dorm and the girls' dorm are on top of each other.
Okay.
Actually, the guys are on the bottom, girls are on top, and then that runs into one level, and then that level that's next to it is what they call like study rooms. So as FBTI students that do those 3 tracks, they're going to be studying in there, and just it gives them a nice quiet place for them to study. Turn the bend, you go around. There's a library. This is still one level, and then you come to a stairwell, and that splits up into 3 levels, where you have a lounge on the bottom, and then the second level is actually the new. It's called Student Commons, and it wasn't open when I was there. Granted, the 3rd level, I kind of made that up. The Student Commons does actually technically have a stairs, but it's just an upper level inside of there.
Okay.
So it's not its own thing. And then that, if you head on, let me see, is that north? No, it's east. No, west. Let me get it straight. When you continue to head west, then it goes into the kitchen. Below that, there's a garage for the staff vehicles and maintenance shop. And then there's actually a 3rd level on top where there's a lot of main offices, also choir room, things like that. As you continue to head west,
the main building, all this, and
all
one
this
building.
is still the main building. One building. You can spend your life in there without going outside. I could have lived there for a year and not seen the sun, which is something I want to say later. I did see the sun.
Okay,
so,
that's good. They don't kidnap you and just lock you inside.
No,
this building.
I did. I will. I'm here to say that I got to see the sun, so I'm very grateful. And so once you're beyond the kitchen, the main office, and the maintenance shop, then it transitions into the FBCS. So you won't see a lot of interaction between FBTI and FBCS throughout the day.
CS would be grade
the
school.
Christian school, yeah, the grade school. Other than sometimes students will come up for a hot lunch day, and the teachers will generally come up and eat with us in the cafeteria.
But it is in the same building?
Basically, yeah. It's just connected with a corridor.
Oh,
and so
okay.
you don't see each other.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. FBCS is also the portion that has the gym. And so whenever us as older students come in, we want to play volleyball, we're generally going over to FBCS to play. So just a hop and a skip.
And then you served in the bookstore.
Yeah, actually.
Is that
let me say
a
something
different
really
location?
quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned seeing the sun. Something that's actually a real problem there is that Guy's Mills and that portion of Pennsylvania has a lot of lake effect because it's really close to Lake Erie. And so in the winter, they have a lot of snow and a lot of clouds. Which leads into, there's a legit thing called SAD, which is a type of depression.
SAD.
It stands for Seasonal Affective Disorder. And we like to blame the weather on feeling depressed, or sad, I should say, when it gets all snowy. Anyways.
How much snow does it get there? Like, as far as accumulation at a time?
At a time? It ranges, but generally 10, 12 inches would be on the high side, maybe. But it's not unusual that in the middle of January and February, you have a total of 20 inches on the ground.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's also, where was I going with that? Like, I would say generally there's a lot of snow, but it's a lot lake effect as well. I don't know what I was going to say with that, honestly. I really have no clue.
Just that you get the blues.
It's just, you get the blues and there's a lot of snow.
And you don't see a lot of sun.
And you don't see sun during the winter.
There's so many clouds.
Because there's so many clouds
And
dropping.
we think we don't see the sun here.
It's similar to here, it's just worse.
Yeah. But then at least you get snow. I would tend to think, at least, that I would prefer to have 20 inches of snow on the ground than
instead of brown dirt and mud.
5 inches of mud.
I agree.
And
I agree.
you know,
and
I don't know.
that is the one benefit there.
Because the white, there's even, it just reflects the light.
It does.
Basically.
And then when the sun comes out, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly. And I do love snow. I really do. But there was a couple times there where it was a trial because it was just like, it's cold and snowy for so long, not to mention you never saw the sun. So.
You got to feel like Noah in the Ark, you know, trapped in there.
Yeah, pretty much.
About 40 days and 40 nights,
like COVID.
you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
What were you saying? Something about the bookstore.
So, is the bookstore connected to that, or is it in a different location? Is it walkable? Where is this thing at?
Yep. So, for the 3rd time, we'll throw that photo on the screen. Because...
you're making my editing job hard, bro. Just stop the photo, okay? They've seen it.
No, this is in a test.
There is a video podcast. Just go check that out.
This is a test to make sure Elson has his,
ducks in a row.
skills and his ducks in a row. on the photo, you'll notice that the bookstore has now moved. It's south of the main building. It used to be in the same building as everything else.
So it's like moving around on the photo? Should I like animate that it moves?
No, probably not. It doesn't move per se, but it had moved. It's kind of scary.
It did move.
It did move.
Okay.
They built a new building, and it has more offices. I forgot another part.
Okay.
So there's FBTI, FBCS, and FBRG. RG stands for Resource Group. And we'll get into this as we talk about the bookstore. Do you want me to go into that now?
Yeah, let's go for that. Just kind of tell us what you did now.
So my role in the bookstore was sitting behind a desk, checking out people, and then also just making sure that the entire showroom of books was stocked. As orders came in, I'd put those out there. And then there's a whole warehouse full of books. Mostly because FBRG, as I said earlier, they develop their own history curriculum for grade school. So it's called Living History Threads, or LHT. And they use a lot of books in that curriculum. This is for grades, I think it's 1 through 6 now. While there's also so it's Living History Threads, and then after grade 4, grade 5 starts with Living History Weavings. So you kind of see the connection there, threads and then weavings. So it kind of develops.
They're still building that out for more grades, or
there's potential.
There's potential.
The 5 and 6 was still actually being developed when I was there.
Okay.
Once that's completed, I'm not sure how far they're going. 7, 8. I know they talked about high school,
but they have added more grades.
They have
over the years,
ever since it started. Yeah. Yep. So that was a big part of my responsibilities. Was every summer there's schools that need to reorder supplies. Often they already have what they call the read aloud books and maybe the teacher guides, but there's student materials that need to get replaced every year. And so I'm the one...
Like the workbooks or whatever.
Exactly, the textbooks, the workbooks, whatever. And so those were the ones that I'd package up, ship out, and out the door.
So you do like shipping for that?
Yeah. So actually a lot of shipping.
Did you do some sales?
So sales, just in the essence of taking care of phone calls and phone call sales that way.
So it was more.
But there was also a website, so we had a lot of sales on there. Yeah.
But you wouldn't have done as many in-store sales.
No, in-store was more rare. The idea with building its own independent building, and the one that we moved into, is to attract more local customers, and I think it's been doing that ever so slightly, but right now it kind of seems like the bookstore has been most beneficial for the students that need textbooks. So those college level students are coming over every so often because their class requires a book, and then they come to my bookstore and I sell it to them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you would still have been the guy to sell it to them if.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I sold it to them in store. I sold it to people by
online,
shipping,
in store,
on the
shipping.
phone, whatever. It was just all kinds of different methods.
And then I think you had done like some of the, I don't know, QuickBooks or.
Yeah. So that was kind of. I don't think it necessarily went with my job description, but because
you just got it.
Because I am a bookkeeper at Nature, and that's what I do at the store currently. I kind of got hooked into that with just a little bit of reconciling with some of the transactions with the bookstore.
Who would normally do that?
Great question. So there's a secretary, what they would call a bookkeeper there at FB that generally takes care of that.
Gotcha.
In the main office.
And you said there's one other person in the bookstore, or no?
There's actually now more, but in the bookstore itself, in that section, there's the manager and myself. So I was working directly under Tim Kaufman, which that was the guy that I went to. If I had questions or if he gave me the work to do. And yeah.
Gotcha. What did Tim do? Do you know?
Tim just bossed me.
Just boss.
No. Well, obviously he had more authority. So if I had questions, he was the one with the answers. And then, making the connection to some of the schools that were ordering curriculum. He was also very well versed in all the questions to do with curriculum. So Teachers Week, you get tons of people, 400 plus people coming in there. Hey, we've heard about your Living History Threads. Like, what can you tell me about it? Me, being a new volunteer, I can't tell them anything.
Uh-huh.
And so that's where I was like, Tim, come here. These people need to talk with you.
Yeah.
But obviously over the year, I became more and more confident with those things, and I got to understand the curriculum better. But he just had a very good knowledge. Plus, I think he already taught the curriculum in a grade school, so he knew what he was talking about.
Would he like kind of work alongside with you, or would he just kind of show up every now and then? Because it sounds like you just did everything, so it can't be too big of an organization, or maybe he helped you out and just trying to figure this out.
Well, and it could be because I don't know exactly everything that Tim did. Tim definitely had a lot of roles that I didn't ever get to see. Not to mention recruiting new volunteers after I left. So no, I didn't necessarily do everything at all. But we didn't work maybe side by side that much. He would often appoint me with stuff to do, and once I learned the trade and the responsibilities that were necessary, I would just follow up on that and do that every day. It's pretty easy going, honestly. So when I was there, the store was open from 8:30 to 5 every day, except for Saturday and Sunday. So it didn't mean that I had to be there super early in the morning, super late at the evening. We did end up having an open house with the new building, and that was a Saturday open as well. But
so it'd be closed Saturdays
and Sundays.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically I did work a lot by myself. Is how to answer that question.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's maybe a good lead in, is like to kind of look at your schedule.
Yep.
You just now mentioned, what was it, 8:30 to 5, you're at the bookstore.
Yeah.
So was the rest free time? What did you do the rest of the time?
Great question. So the volunteers did a lot of interacting with the FBTI students just because they're the same age. We stayed in the same dorm, and we lived with them. We got to know them quite well. The only disconnect was, we didn't get to go to all the courses. We didn't get the credits. We weren't students. I will say there's one benefit with being a volunteer. You got to be in one class per semester, free of charge. You could take it for credit. So there's two options: take it for credit or take it for audit. Basically, audit means you don't have to do homework. You don't have to do anything, and so it doesn't really count.
So if you take it for credit, then you'd have to do homework.
You have to do all the required work. Yeah, what the instructor tells you to do. So, kind of going to the schedule and stuff. Evenings, you could pretty quickly fill it up with. There was organized events such as Tuesday evening there was always a volleyball, and then Friday evening there was always a organized what they called a STUCO activity. STUCO, student committee, makes sense. And so that was always organized. They wanted you typically to be at the Sunday night one. So they have STUCO Friday night and Sunday night. Friday night was not required if you didn't feel like it. Sunday night was more so. And then after STUCO on Friday night, we had volleyball again until midnight, which was always fun. Saturdays is free for all. So,
What, the STUCO, was that what the committee came up with? Or?
Yeah, so they probably pulled from previous years and stuff, but they were the ones that were in charge of the activities.
So you just do kind of random stuff?
Mostly active on a Friday night. So fun, entertainment, games, puzzles, just organized.
But not volleyball every single night.
But not volleyball until after the activity.
After.
And then
so there'd be an activity and then always volleyball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you all stayed in the same dorms. What size are these dorms? Like how many rooms are there? Or whatever,
Imagine peas in a pod, okay? And each pea in the pod is a room.
Okay.
So you have a big dorm which has 3 individual rooms in it. And those individual rooms have bunk beds in them. So in one dorm, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have 6 guys. Okay.
So there's 2 guys per
room.
sub-room.
Correct, yeah.
And then 6 guys per dorm.
Correct.
And
that dorm has typically 2 or 3 showers, 2 or 3 toilets, and 2 or 3 sinks.
Oh, okay.
So you share that all as 6 guys.
And then for just strictly sleeping, it would just be one other dude.
That's right.
And then I assume all these unit dorms would be off of a hallway or whatever.
Yeah, so there's
how many dorms
hallway.
Are there? Do you
know?
During
regular semester with FBTI students, you're talking 1, 2. So there's extra dorms available because usually they have enough for like winter term students. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes they'd fill them all up, but then some guys would get their own room.
Oh, okay.
So you're talking 5, 6 dorms are in use, something like that.
But you said there are more up to how many, like 10, 20?
They can end up, no, not that many. They can end up holding probably right at 40 guys, single guys.
Oh, just
something like that.
40.
I would say 40. Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, they all have their individual, and the other thing is they have to share toilets and showers and sinks, but then each dorm has a very small living space with like a couch or two.
Living room.
And living room, yeah, basically.
Gotcha.
You also have
that would be in the dorm, not the sub room, right?
correct. Yeah, you get out of the suburb. There's your living area plus your toiletries and bathroom area. Once you get out of that, then you're in the hallway, and one of the other rooms was the lounge. So that was bigger, just a nice relaxing area, or if people wanted to work out. Actually, what did we call it? Not the lounge. We called it the rec room.
The rec room.
So yeah, it's
So
kind
they
of
have,
where we
like,
chilled, and there's a microwave,
gym-
there's a fridge,
Gym
you just do
equipment
stuff.
there? Or?
Gym equipment, yeah, and then just couches of all sorts. So, yep.
Okay. There was a lot of things as we went into that we said we'd talk about later. The question now is, did we talk about it?
That's a good point. I don't know. Honestly,
Should we stop the recording
will
and listen
forget-
to it so that we fulfill our...
do you think
Talk
they'll
about
forgive
later?
us? I think they'll forgive us. I'm not too worried. And
Okay.
if they don't, they probably know me and they can contact me and ask me. And it'll probably dawn on me too towards the end. I'll be just like, hey, we forgot to talk about this. But yeah, I think
Okay.
that kind of covers the living quarters. This is the one thing that we forgot to mention. It's kind of more of the schedule.
Okay.
So breakfast was every morning 7:15, and that was free for all. You could show up whenever until 7:45. During a regular semester, you have chapel twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then sometimes there's a singing chapel, sometimes there's a speaker that comes in, or it's just a random topic. Tuesdays and Thursdays are not class days for the students. That's when they either have mentoring, not to mention us volunteers, also we're part of that mentoring, or then they do their independent studies or their seminars, or if they just wanted to go and study in town, go to a coffee shop, they could do that. They were free to do that. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays were classes, and that was typically when you were tied up. Wednesday afternoons and Friday afternoons were choir. That was always a lot of fun. So that's
they have
more
a choir
of the,
there too, I guess.
more of the schedule. Yeah, so they have a choir every semester. So fall semester they have a Christmas program at the end of it, and then spring semester they have another one, but then they go on tour. So every year they go different areas. When I was there, we went kind of through the Midwest, Iowa, and Illinois, and Missouri.
Do y'all like rent a bus, or how does that work?
Big bus. All of us
Or do
just
they
jump
have
on
one
it.
there maybe?
No, they don't have one.
Yeah,
They run a bus and run a driver, and they take us wherever we want to go. So that's usually a highlight, and it's a perk if you choose to do choir in spring semester as a volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
You can take that, and it's one of the benefits of being a volunteer. You can go and you can go on tour, and you're allowed to take off for that because there's no one on campus then, because grade school's out at that point, and they're not teaching school because it's the end of the spring semester, and so yeah, it's really handy. Then there's going back to the schedule, so that there's breakfast, there's classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever. There's lunch always at 11:45. That lasts usually an hour. Supper sharp at 5:15. Everyone's there. Prayer, and then after supper, like I said, if there is activities, it's usually after that 6:30 or 7. And evenings, it just depends. Sometimes they have like an art class. If someone feels inspired to do an art class, there might be an art class every Thursday night. So you can fill up your evenings pretty quickly. Thursday night, art class. Friday night, Stuco. Saturday night, there's a volleyball, forgot to mention that. And then Sunday night, there's a Stuco activity. And the week starts all over again.
So let's say, as a volunteer, probably as a student, you're not, I don't know. As a volunteer, could you potentially, if you want to go do something by yourself in the evening once you get off, is that something you can do, or is it like...
Great question.
You're here.
100%. It's not like, they don't treat you like a 16-year-old and say, hey, you have to stay here. Ask Dad. No, they let you go. Typically, you have to tell one person. At least that's
Just
how
so
it
they
was
know
for
where
the
you
guys.
are.
Yeah, because what happens is, let's say there's a fire drill. Where's Carl?
Yeah.
Oh, someone told me he's in town, so then it's fine.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy eating out, and I did find myself doing that too often, I gotta say. But it was always, it's nice to know that they give you that freedom, and they trust you. So. Yeah.
And then, so like, as far as home visits, how many do you get? Like, I know Josh, referring back to Faith Mission, how that was just you had like kind of 16 vacation days so you could pick and choose. Is there a similar system there or no?
So how was that? 16 days across a year or 2 years?
So
how'd that work?
And when you commit for a year, you get like 14 vacation days, and then they have like a book or two that they want you to read.
Okay, and then
And
that
if you read those, it extends it. If you don't read those, it actually takes it away.
Oh wow!
So
that's a
really good incentive to read a book
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I wish they had a system like that. So we actually had, as volunteers, 3 vacation days.
3.
3.
Okay.
But there's a clause into this because being a volunteer for a year wasn't actually an entire year. I'll tell you about my year. It started in August, very beginning of August. First 2 weeks there wasn't students there. It was just prep for the fall semester. And then it led into fall semester. That was busy. Then there's scheduled vacation that we're allowed to go home, and that doesn't take away from your days.
Okay, so there's
so holidays is part of your schedule. So for example, Christmas, we went home, the weekend before. We were at home for like 12 days, 14 days. That didn't count. That didn't count against anything. So that's different than Faith Mission.
So it's not near as bad. Like, so
No.
3 sounds like, oh man.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
Those,
so we already
had to pull their vacation
so
days.
many freedoms plus weekends for me. Now, it wasn't this way with the cooks or the maintenance, but for me, weekends were also free.
Okay.
And then, let's say, I don't remember if Easter was one or not, but there's also summer break. So as soon as you're done with the spring semester, the choir tour, you go home for like 2.5 weeks. And then you come back. That's when summer term starts. So there's a pretty big break. Definitely. And those 3, I'm not even sure if I used up all 3 of mine.
They'd maybe just be more for like emergencies or something like
if you're sick or something.
Bad happens. So you don't get sick days really. You could use one of your vacation days.
I'm not even sure on that.
Because
I was never sick when I was there.
They're at Faith Mission again. They had that plus 6 days.
14 plus 6.
I believe is what he estimated.
Okay. That makes
he said
sense.
it was around there. And then if you didn't use any of those, it gave you a vacation day yet.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So don't get sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of encapsulates the whole.
So then after Friday, you kind of had the weekend off where you could do something or?
Typically, often, like I said, there was volleyball Saturday evenings. For me, I got along with the students. I got to know them quite well, so I ended up doing something with them most weekends. But there was a couple weekends where I found myself leaving for home as soon as work was over Friday evening, and then coming back Sunday evening. It's about 5.5 hours for me.
So you would have just made a flying trip home for basically Saturday.
Just for Saturday and Sunday.
Sunday, and then came back Sunday.
Yep.
And you can do that.
Yep. Yeah, it was nice to have that.
Okay, so let me look at my questions here. You did talk about the living history threads, and so
I did a little bit.
What is kind of the vision of the bookstore there?
Yeah, well, I think they try to serve the community with quality materials to read. Also, the website. So this reaches out, especially in our Anabaptist circles. We hear of other ways of getting books. There's thrift books. There's Amazon, obviously.
What's that?
But you know that when you buy a book from Christian Learning Resources, what it was called, is that it's quality and that it's not just any book that Tom, Dick, and Harry wanted to sell.
It's basically like a trusted place where you can
pretty
get
much
trusted resources.
Every single book before it gets listed, before we sell it, goes through the hands of, for example, Tim or one of the other managers. So it's It provides a place for us as Anabaptists to receive quality material. That's what I would say their vision is. And in the meantime, serving their community there, selling it on the website, developing their own curriculum, and then also selling books to the students there.
You've mentioned the website quite a bit. Maybe
Yep.
you should just plug it real quick. That way they know where to go. And
Christianlearning.org. Don't quote me on that. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
Are you connected to the Wi-Fi?
I am. Yeah. Yes, christianlearning.org. We'll take you to the website. I highly recommend you check it out. They did a revamp on the website actually not too long ago. So it's better than what it used to be. But yeah.
So that's for the bookstore.
That's for the bookstore.
Does Faith Mission or Faith Builders have?
They have a website as well. Big plug time. fbep.org. So F Foxtrot, B as in I don't know.
A bear.
Bear.
Foxtrot, bear.
E as an elephant.
Elephant.
And then P as in Papa.
Pig. We got to stay
Pig.
with. We got
Pig,
to. We got to stay with the animals.
Okay. So
.org.
fbep.org, and that is a great place actually to go if you want to know more about Faith Builders. Gives you the whole story, tells you the history, tells you about their academics.
I'm just looking at this. They got some
You can
pictures.
probably find a picture or two of me on there. I don't recommend that you do. But yeah,
they're going to be able to
there.
look at you as long as they want to.
It's true. Yeah. Yep, that's FB.
So I think, unless you have something more to say about FB, I think we covered it pretty comprehensively.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's more to say, but if
It's one of those things where I know I might come back to you an hour later and be like, I wish we would have talked about this, but it's fine.
you can always go to the YouTube version and comment on it.
That's right, and I can be like,
amendment.
Elson, we forgot this.
Yeah. And since we're plugging stuff, I'll just plug my stuff real quick here. If you're listening to this on audio, then you can check out the video version. It might be more engaging. I try to make so that
Definitely, and it's really good this time.
I try to make that audio people can still do it. That's why I try to make you describe it without the picture, but you always said just the picture.
I did. I'm
So,
sorry.
Go look at the picture.
That's an incentive
the
for
way
you
to
look at the
get to the YouTube version is you go to my website. It's EJMast.weebly.com, EJMast.weebly.com, WEEBLY.com.
Go for it.
And so then I got all kinds of pages. You go to the podcast page. There's my podcast is there. I also have another EJ's Tech Talk podcast. I think I should have this guy on. Me and him talking about
we
tech.
did talk about this.
Potentially in the future, maybe if I can get him back. Anyway, so there's where you get all the links. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, and it's on YouTube.
Don't look at me. I'm not the one doing it. You looked at me when you kind of
I was just
blanking out a bit.
looking at you, and it made me remember it.
Oh, okay, that's great. Well, you heard him say it. Honestly, guys, you should support him. He's doing a great job, and I'm honored to be here. It's so much fun. I love it.
Okay, so now my notes are all gone. We used up our notes.
Okay. So does that mean that's the end of the podcast?
We're done.
Wow. Thanks, Elson. This is
No,
good.
no, we're not done. We're not done.
Okay.
We can't be done. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know where this is going.
Potentially, what we do here is we take a break.
Okay. Yep.
And then we reset the water bottle since it's empty. Make
For
sure our
you.
cameras are still recording.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And we don't
then-
want we don't want to feel like we did this all in vain. That would
And then-
really suck.
We think about what to talk about afterwards because this was all about faith builders, and
Yeah, it was.
the title is probably going to be about faith builders. But then at the end, we'll probably have a conversation, just chat.
I like that.
So
Okay, break time.
let's take a break.
Buddy, that's so good.
Okay, folks, welcome back from the break. We don't really know what we're gonna do at this point.
We don't.
We're basically gonna talk a little bit more about the home place where he works. If you want to know where I work and what I do, you gotta go listen to the one with Josh Kime. I'm just saying. And there's also one other one with my sister. That one's great too. But just saying, this here table, you could buy it at the home place. This very table that we did a podcast at.
You could have this table. It's very special. And now since we recorded, on this
Once
table.
we hit 1 million subscribers, I mean, this thing could be worth something. It was the 3rd episode, dude. Go buy it.
Yes, exactly.
Not sponsored, right?
Not sponsored. Hashtag not sponsored.
Just a free table for use.
Yep.
Yeah, go for it.
So, I guess just more about me outside of FB. So, I work at the home place.
Rhyming.
I am rhyming.
What in the
out
world
here.
is the home place?
The home place is a store.
Do you sell bicycles?
It's a very original name, I know. As maybe my dad would explain it, it's an old country store. It's not your traditional grocery store. It's not an IGA or a Save Lot, because those are the two closest that I usually compare us to. It's just a bulk food store, and we get a lot of products in from like those Amish Mennonite distributors like Walnut Creek, Dutch Valley, some of those. And so we offer a lot of groceries. We offer all kinds of baked goods because we have our own kitchen. And then we make pies, make salads. We get a big lunch crowd in every day. So
you have a deli, right?
Yes, sorry. We have a deli, and then we make cold cut sandwiches, hot sandwiches. We also have a smoker, so we make a lot of smoked meats.
You can buy.
You can
buy. You can just sliced ham there, right? You can buy sliced ham and cheese and stuff, but you can also buy sandwiches.
Yes.
And soft pretzels.
Soft pretzels.
Donuts.
Big deal.
Furniture.
Tables.
Furniture.
So Elson didn't ask for this, and I'm not going to make it longer than I have to. But we started the store exactly 19 years ago, something like that, almost 19 years ago. And it started as a furniture store. And now if you come to visit, you'll notice there's little to no furniture. And it's just because we've noticed that really the captivating consumer base is going to be food, and people like food. So that's generally what we are now. But the home place is where I work. I work in the office. I am the bookkeeper there. I do a lot of QuickBooks kind of stuff, and very similar to what Elson does. And so we get to share that similarity and talk about work, and it's actually kind of fun.
And I would do QuickBooks at Dutch Builders. I'm not the CFO, obviously. There's someone that does more the higher level, like payroll and stuff like that. But the day-to-day stuff, I do that.
Yep.
You also tend to have this habit of going to Holmes County once a week. Why would you do that?
That's a great question. Wow, I keep saying that. I don't know why I do that.
I'm just so good at asking questions, man.
It is a good question, actually, because any person that knows me knows that I go to Holmes County, or Danville, more specifically, every single week. And that is because out of the home place was a other company born called Tried and True Granola.
That's actually really good.
It's hard to guess what we make, but it's granola. We have 10 different varieties, and basically...
Can you name them all off the top of your head?
I can, but it's not worth it. I'll tell you my favorites would probably be any of them with chocolate. So Double Delight's good, chocolate peanut butter's good. Another good one, surprisingly, is sea salt caramel. So a bit of salt, and then you get a nice burst of caramel. Of course, who doesn't like caramel?
Who comes up with those recipes?
You suggest it, and then if we like it, we'll try out a few sample batches, and then it goes from there.
So like you actually come up with the recipes?
A lot of those recipes, yeah, we'll come up with them our own. And that's one of the things I've set us apart, is that this was our own recipe. This is how we started. It's not the same as any other Amish granola company out there. So we're kind of proud of that fact. And it doesn't break your teeth, so remember that.
And you sell it at the home place?
We sell it at the home place. We've got a couple shelves there. And then, but our primary customer base, I guess, goes out through our distributors.
You do sell it through other stores, right?
Yes, yes. So distributors will pick it up at our location there in Danville and ship it out to stores. I don't know how many stores we're at now, but a lot. So I think I was calculating earlier this morning, and I think next week we're going to try to make about 10,000 pounds of granola. So it's kind of crazy.
A lot of granola.
A lot of granola. So I basically go up there to manage the facility. We have 5 employees that work Monday through Thursday. Friday and Saturday are off. And kind of tell them what they need to make for the next week. I arrange orders to be picked up, orders that come in, that go out, or placing orders for inventory. All kinds of things. Kind of general manager in that.
So how do they find out if there's... Do you have like one of those cool Kind of like, you know, Ryan Trahan has his candy, and then he has a Joyride finder to find his candy. Do you have a tried and true finder?
So if you do go to triedandtruegranola.com, of course I'm going to plug in. There's a map that has all the stores.
Oh,
Granted,
really?
it's
Nice.
not up to date.
It's not up
by
to date.
no means,
Okay.
actually. So if you didn't see your a store close to your location, if you punch it in, just send me a message, or my email is connected there to the website with your zip code, and I can tell you where the closest store is.
So just because it's not on the map doesn't mean
that you can't get it.
You can't get it.
Plus, you can always get it on Amazon.com.
Also,
or on triedandtruegranola.com.
What we're just finding out right now is this whole thing is just an ad.
That's right.
Like
that's all that.
Just
that's all that I'm here for. Actually,
like,
is because I went to promote Tried and True Granola.
You're plugging Faith Builders, and you're plugging Tried and True. You're plugging the home place.
Yep.
Oh, well, we're at it. Just like what is it? Thehomeplace.com or something.
We made it shorter, but it's maybe a little harder to explain. THPOH.com. So 5 letters. THP stands for the home place.
The home place, first letter of every, and then Ohio.com.
OH.com. But yeah. I wouldn't want you to put in OHIO.com because
I would though, because then you'd get an error 404. Okay.
But yeah, check out our website. Check out triedandtruegranola.com. It's a lovely product, if I do have to say so myself.
It is really good. I tried it. It's
I
good.
shouldn't be the one to say that. Anyways, carry on.
So he mentioned a little bit how we have the similarities, I guess, in our job.
Mm-hmm.
We also kind of have different other similarities, and
we do.
Maybe tell them about the reason that we're friends. I don't know. I mean, we'd probably be friends without that, but we're a lot closer friends, I think, because of it.
It would be tough.
Yeah, that. No. He has a Sony. I have a Sony. It's not mine. It's the company that I work for, and they let me use it, so that's nice. So the 2 angles, one of them is his, one of them is Dutch Builders. I got a MacBook. He's got a MacBook.
Yep.
What else?
Well, I think that's for sure the main parts is technology just in general, because we kind of geek out about that stuff. 9to5mac.com or macrumors.com.
Mac Rumors. I like that podcast.
All those kinds of things are really
especially
cool.
Hartley. I just love his accent.
Yeah. And when it comes to consuming media, you love watching Marcus Brownlee.
Yes,
and I do too. I don't necessarily watch him as often as Elson does, but he keeps me up to date to what else happening, the latest stuff. But yeah.
And then personality-wise, we're a lot the same too.
Probably.
We came in here and we had to line it all up, and these cameras had to be perfect.
Not only that, I think it makes it difficult to work together because we both know what we want, and then we just grind against each other. But it's okay. We're still friends.
But I'm the host of this podcast. It's my podcast, so I win. You know.
It's true. Because I am here.
I get the executive power,
a guest. So I am just honored.
He came and brought his very good ideas, and I just said no. No, I'm kidding. A few of them I did go with, and a few of them I did say no. So speaking of tech, I said a little bit earlier, I do have an EJMast Plus podcast. I didn't know if we'd have time or not, but what we're gonna do is we're going to go over there and do a tech podcast, maybe just short 15 minutes or so. Depends. And then
it's going to be solid. You're going to want to go.
We're going to come back. Well, I'm going to say that, but we're actually just going to stay here. Don't tell anybody.
Okay. I won't.
But we're just going to finish this podcast up, and then we'll go record that.
Sounds good.
I guess.
That sounds good.
Anything that needs to be said yet before we go to the tech thing?
Well, thanks again for having me. And I will say, if anyone's wondering about FB, it is a great place. I know we talked a lot about that. If you're looking to volunteer, or if you're looking to go as a student, there are options, there's possibilities, opportunities, whatever the word is, and it's a really good environment. So I would hear it from me first. I would recommend it 10 out of 10. That's all I have to say. But yeah, it's a good place.
Yeah, thanks for being on the podcast. I believe when I first started it, you were one of the first ones I wanted to have on. You are a busy man, so
that makes me feel so honored.
Thank you for making it work.
Yeah, not a problem.
I think this is the part where you say, It's been great having this podcast going on. That's
Yeah.
not how you normally say it,
Let
but
let me try. Thanks again for watching his podcast. And if you don't mind, come back next month for the next episode because it's going to be worth watching. Maybe because I bring my camera the second time. No, scrap that part.
I don't have a guest for next month. I really don't know what I'm
that'll
going to
come
do.
in due time. But
Um,
this is the end of the podcast. That's really where this is going.
that's a good end. You gave me an idea now.
Okay.
So this is how it goes.
Okay.
Okay, guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the EJMast Plus podcast. You can subscribe on YouTube. It won't do you much good because it's unlisted as of now. I might eventually make it go public and then it will do you good. But you can follow on Spotify. The video version is on Spotify, and you can... What does Apple Podcast tell you to do? Is that following as well?
Yeah, you can follow his channel, and honestly, I would recommend that you do.
You can follow on podcasts, you can follow on Spotify, or you subscribe on YouTube. So that's kind of where it's at. I already plugged my website. You can check it out for all that stuff. Also, the making of the studio video will be on the website. So that's where you find that. Don't know when. I'll have to edit that after I edit this. I don't know. It might be a month. Maybe never. We'll just see.
Go watch it, though, as soon as it does come out. It does.
So that being said, thanks for watching. And until next time, God bless.
See ya.
Dude. Okay, cut. Record on that one.
Now. Recording.
2 cameras rolling.
The red. We have about a long time.
How does he go?
Don't do too many ums. That's gonna throw him off.
Elson Mast looks good on film.
This face was made for camera.
Okay.
Alrighty, folks. Welcome back to another continuation of an episode. I screwed that up so hard.
But it's okay. We're gonna keep going.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
No. No. No.
Sorry. Okay. You got this.
Be still. Okay, so this...
Close the door. What are we doing? Door's wide open, dude.
That cannot
Look, we have to do these final checks because there's sound out there that I could hear. That's not good.
I'm gonna send you a copy.
Make sure my eyebrows don't stick out too much. The fact that that's been recorded is just scary.
I'm gonna send it to your Mac and my Mac. And then I'll be like, you can introduce yourself, and then you just go and you yap, bro.
And I just go for it. Yeah. That better work, guys, okay? Come on. Do better, Elson.